Good morning, everyone. I hope you are all doing well today. Right, lovely. We just got a few people still joining in. Let's give it a minute and then we'll jump right into it. Thanks for that, Danielle. Sorry to ask though, right? But do you prefer to go by William or Daniel? Which should I refer to you as? All right. Let's jump straight into it in the meantime. So yeah, guys, thank you all for joining and welcome back to another webinar. I do apologize for missing last week. We were actually on the road back from Johannesburg to Durban. Over the weekend, we ran some entrepreneurship workshops in and around Johannesburg. It was quite a fun session, very insightful. We met quite a few of our students that are in the Gauteng area. They just popped in for those workshops. And it was nice meeting them. I'm not sure if anyone that we met is in this meeting, but if you are, just let me know. But yeah, it was a really lovely sessions we had. Really enjoyable and lots of good feedback we have from those. So hopefully we'll be doing a few more of those. This was the first time we tried with a format like this, and thankfully it panned out pretty good. So yeah, we'll probably be doing more of those in the future. But getting into the topic for today. Today, I want to talk about Visual Studio Code a little bit, VS Code, which should be the editor that most of you are using, either that or brackets. I would suggest moving away from brackets to VS Code simply because brackets, well, support for brackets has ended. So there's no more updates, there's no more safety patches, nothing like that coming out. But VS Code is going to be, it's basically brackets, but it has a few additional features and support for it is going to be going on into the foreseeable future. So at the moment, it is currently the best option. Um, so today I want to explore those a little bit, specifically brackets, VS Code, although some of the things we're going to discuss today are universal, whether you're using VS Code or brackets or some other IDE, these tips and tricks will carry over. But what I want to get into today is how to master not coding itself, but the platform you use to code, right? You spend a lot of time in your IDE, so it really pays to get comfortable and understand how it works, all of the different tools and functionalities that it offers you to save you a lot of time and make you a much more efficient developer. And as a developer, especially working with HTML, I'm sure like if you are in module 3 or 4, you probably noticed that HTML has a lot of repetition. There's just a lot of things you're typing over and over and over again. And then sometimes if you have to make changes, you're making changes to, I don't know, about 10 or so different tags at once. And it just takes a lot of time. But there's some features that we're going to explore today that's going to cut that in half and help you to get over those small little irritations a lot quicker so you can focus on the important things, which is actually coding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. And for this session, what I want you to do, if you're sitting at your computer, I want you to open up your preferred IDE. So whether that's brackets or VS Code preferably, and just follow along. There's some practical things I'm going to show you, and it's just going to make it a lot easier for you to remember if you do it along with me. So I'm gonna share my screen. In the meantime, I highly suggest you open up your IDE on your side. Alrighty, all right. Just let me know if you guys can see the screen. Um, all right, lovely. So in the background here, right, I've uh, I've got VS Code open. Now this is like you've just installed it, and you've just opened it up, and this is the screen you are presented with. Now, normally what you would do is if you want to start editing a folder or a project, you could either go and open up your files individually, or a much easier way to go about it is to open up your entire folder. So, you know, when you're creating a project, for example, well, the example I'm going to use today is the Pine City Zoo app, which most of you may have already completed. Now, instead of having to open each of the dozens of files that you have to edit, you can open up the entire folder, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. And the way you do that is click on File, click on Open Folder, and then from here you'll navigate to your folder and uh, your project folder and click on Open. But there's actually an even easier way of achieving that, of opening your folder. Some of you may know about it, some of you may not, but it goes like this, right? You open up your file explorer where you've created, you navigate to your project folder. So here is the Pine City Zoo app that I'm going to use for the demonstration purposes. And what you can do is you can simply right click. If you're on Windows 10 or earlier, the option will show up right here. But if you are on Windows 11, for some reason, they just decided to hide things a little bit, but the option is still here. So what you do is to open it in VS Code, you just right click on more options, and right there, open with code. This makes it so much more easier to open your folders. And if you need to open multiple folders at once and jump between projects, it's so simple. You just right click and open with code. And you click on that and bam, it'll open up a new code window with your entire project folder open. William, which web browser do you prefer to use? Good question, actually. Down here, you can check it out. I use Brave. Brave is like it's basically Chrome, but with a lot more safety features and ad blockers built in stock. So it's much, because of those, it's much quicker, it's much lighter, and you're a little bit more secure online. So I prefer to use that one. It also has all of the same development features as Chrome, so it's very, very handy. Cool. Now, once you are in your project, it's time to start editing, right? Um, and these tips that I'm going to show you are particularly handy when you're working with larger projects. And I like using the Pine City Zoo app as an example because it's quite a lengthy program in terms of the number of files and the number of lines in each file. Uh, so yeah, I like using this one as an example. Now, the second tip I want to show you guys and I want you to get comfortable with is using your keyboard more and your mouse less. Especially if you're working on a laptop where you've got the little scratch pad, it gets the job done, but it's a bit of an irritation sometimes. I'm sure anyone who's used a scratch pad for any amount of time will agree that it's just painful at times, especially if you're working with code and things. So basically, everything that you can do with your mouse, you can do with the keyboard with just a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of practice. But it's all there, all the same functionalities there. And once you master it and practice a little bit, you'll find that it's much, much quicker than even using the mouse. So the first one, of course, I'm sure most of you already know, is Control S, right? Control S is a shortcut to save, whereas alternatively, you would need to go to File and click on save manually. Control S, instant, less than a second, right? That one is the most common. Most people know it. Most people are familiar with it. Most of you probably use it already. I set mine to autosave. That's very clever. If you do that as well, if you enable autosave, or better yet, back up automatically to GitHub, that's ideal. Because even with saving, sometimes you forget to hit the Control S and computer crashes or something at the wrong time and you lose a bunch of work. Then, right, so Control S, quick save. Next one is Control F. Now you can even use this in a browser. Control F opens up this little find box. It's a little search box. If you're looking for a specific tag or a specific element in your code and you have this lengthy file with, dozens, sometimes up to hundreds of lines, it's going to make it a lot easier to zero in on what you're looking for. So for example, if I am looking for, let's just say, images, right, that I have in this page, and I want to browse through multiple of them, I can just type in this bar img, my image tags, and it's going to highlight the image tags that I have here. You can even use these arrows to switch between the lines and flip through all of them. So here there's 19 different image tags on this page, and you can flip through them all to find the one that you want. And brackets also gives you this, sorry, I keep saying brackets, force of habit. VS Code also gives you this little mini map on the side of the screen, which is a very small version of your entire project. And it highlighted all of the places where you have image or where you have the thing that you're searching for. And that makes it very easy to quickly find elements that you are looking for. Right. Next, now these ones are pretty simple, they're pretty handy, but they're not too exciting, right? I saved the most exciting ones for last. And personally, back in the day when I started learning these were just absolutely mind-blowing to me, the next few ones. The next one we're talking about is selecting text using your keyboard, right? So for example, you want to change, let's just say, okay, this div ID equals content, and I want to change that. Standard way to select is, just click and drag, right? But you don't necessarily need that. You don't need your mouse at all. What you do is you use your cursor, put your cursor at the beginning of where you want to start your selection, hold down the shift key, and then you can use your arrow keys to select. Now, especially if you're using a scratch pad, selecting words like this in text or even in a Word document is painful sometimes. This is just so much easier and so much quicker because you don't have to take your hands off the keyboard. Excellent point, William. Control F to search within your file, and Control Shift F will allow you to search your entire project folder. So help you find those needles in a haystack that is your coding project. Yeah, so that is selecting with your keyboard, right? Oh, Tawfiq says, learning Emmet really changed my life when I switched over from brackets. Absolutely, yeah. I'm just going to be touching on some of the handy features that come stock with VS Code, but there's just really so much that you can do productivity wise with your IDEs, and I really suggest that you guys look into it. I'd love to do a few more of these, talking about not just code, but some of the other IDEs out there, and some of the plugins that you get for these IDEs. Like just with HTML editing alone, there's so many cool IDEs you get out there that help you, auto-complete tags to automatically sorting and indenting. It just saves you a bunch of time. Maybe in one of the coming sessions in the future weeks, we'll go a bunch of that. But there's some life-changing plugins out there, as Toby put it. Right. So getting back to it, Shift and your arrow keys will help you to select text. You can even use the up and down arrow keys to select across multiple lines, right? Um, Now, if you want to select entire words at the time, you use Control Shift and your arrow keys. So Shift and your arrow keys is just going to move one character at a time. Control Shift will move entire words at the time. So if I go to a line where there's multiple words, Control Shift, and I can very quickly move across. And then finally, Control L is going to select the entire line. So that's just easier ways to select. And then once you have anything selected, obviously you can use your Control C and Control V shortcuts to copy and paste, or Control X to cut. Those are also very common keyboard shortcuts that you use universally on a PC. And I'm sure most of you already know those already. Now, let's just say you want to move a line, right? Let's use this elephant's line here. I want to move it. So one way would be to Control L, copy or paste, cut it, and then go and Control V and paste it somewhere else. But that's too many steps for us, right? We're trying to cut down on the time we spend doing things like that. So the easy way to do it is to hold down the Alt key. 10 points to you, William. You hold down the Alt key and use your up and down arrow keys to move this line wherever you want and reposition it. So if you're rearranging your project files or your elements within a div, easy peasy. You just Alt and shuffle your lines around instantly in a few seconds. If you want to duplicate a line also, Alt Shift and hit your arrow keys, and you can create multiple copies of a line just as easily. Control D also works to duplicate. William also says, just a note, all keyboard shortcuts can be changed to suit your preferences. Precisely. What you can also do, which I won't get into in today's session, but maybe in a future session, you can also create custom shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts to do your own custom tasks. And there's a way to set those up within VS Code as well. So for certain tasks that you see you're doing repetitively, like maybe even pasting a certain or writing a certain snippet of code. For example, when you're starting off an HTML project, you have your doc type tag, then you have your HTML, your head, open head, open body, closing HTML tag. Every single time you create an HTML project, you have to write those out. You can actually set up a shortcut where you just hit a button, wherever it is that you set it to, and it'll automatically populate those beginning tags for you. I'd love to show you how to do that in a future episode. Right. Now, when it comes to HTML, right, as I mentioned in the beginning of the webinar, there's a lot of repetition, right? For example, we searched for image tags and we saw there was 19 image tags on this page. If you look at H3 tags, I don't know how many, there's probably over 20 on this page alone. And sometimes when you want to make changes across multiple sections of your page, it takes a lot of time because it's very, very manual. But there's ways to automate that as usual. So let's just say, all right, so what I've done was before the session, I went and I made some changes to this file, right? Just for this example, the image class that I have here is left, right? But if you've completed the Pine City Zoo app, you'll know that that's incorrect, right? The class that we set up in our CSS is actually right. But let's just say I've made a mistake and I've accidentally put left for all of these. And now I want to change it. What you can do is put your cursor on the one, right? So we want to change all of these lefts. You put your cursor on one, and then you hit Control D, right? What it's going to do first is it's going to highlight all of the other lefts, all of the other words that match the one that I have my cursor on, and you can see that there's about 7 of them highlighted here. I can go further, right? Every time I hit Control D, what Visual Studio Code is going to do is it's going to duplicate my cursor and create and place it under the next one. So now I've got 2 cursors, right? And I do it again. Now I've got 3 cursors and 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 8 cursors all on those words left, right? So instead of having to go and change them all, I can edit 8 lines at once and then just hit escape when you're done and it closes all of your other cursors. What extension did you install for this? That's the beauty of it. This is stock VS Code. This is just some built-in features. It comes right out of the box. Keenan auto close tag and auto rename tag are, yes, absolutely essential, I'd say. Really useful extensions. The other one I recommend you install is I think it's called Better Comments. That one just adds a bit more functionality to your comments. So not every comment looks the same. You can customize it so it's easier to see what you're trying to say. When I press Control D, it duplicates the line. Uh, which are you using VS Code, William? Uh, and what extensions would you recommend for one to download to start? Well, to start off, I think the extensions that Keenan mentioned, so auto close tag and auto rename tag, those will save you a lot of time right out the bat. But I think in maybe probably not next week because we have a guest coming next week, but maybe the following week, we'll get into that. Um, uh, some of the best extensions that you can use. Right. Okay. So yeah, that is one way to create multiple cursors. But let's just say they're not all one beneath the other, and you don't want to select all of the word rights, right? For example, let's just say H3 tags. Sometimes like you edit in the opening and closing tag, or you want to edit multiple tags. Instead of having to go to each one and changing it, what you can do is hold Alt and then just click again. So let's just see, I want to edit those, the opening and closing H3 tags there and the opening and closing H3 tags here. Just Alt click as many times as you want. Each time you Alt and click, it adds a new cursor and you can then go and edit 4 places at once. And then again, just hit escape when you're done and hit Control S to save. Uh, and it's easy as that to edit multiple places. Um, one last thing I want to show you is if you want to edit multiple lines that are one on top of the other, you can also just, so for example, you've got elephant, I don't know how many times I got it here, 10 times, and you want to edit all of these at once. Another easy way to do it is Control Alt Shift. Oh, sorry, no, Control Alt, and just keep hitting down to add as many cursors as you want. And you can edit as many lines as you want. Easy as that. Now, especially with HTML, when you're constantly working with tags, or like if you look at this animals page on the HTML, I mean, for the Pine City Zoo, it's basically the same chunk of code right here, repeated over and over and over again. And sometimes you'll need to make changes. So instead of having to manually go and edit each one, you can use one of these shortcuts to add multiple cursors and edit all of them one time. And a task that would take you 20 minutes will take you 2 minutes to do. Lovely. Keenan, thanks for that. Take note of those guys and start adding them to your IDEs. It's going to make your life a whole lot easier, especially for once you move past module 6, and you start getting into some more advanced coding things, more some JavaScript, and then later on your Python and Java start coming into the picture, and React. Having these additional functionalities in your IDEs, you will see the difference. Trust me, it's going to make your life a whole lot better. William has also listed some very handy plugins that you can install. Right. And the final keyboard shortcut I want to cover today is commenting. So if you want to comment out entire sections, one of the ways is just to go line by line and add it. But easiest way is to select. So again, you can use your keyboard to select, not your mouse. Select the entire section you want to comment out, and then you just control and /, and it will. William trying to beat me to the punch. Control /, and it'll automatically comment out that entire section. And it's the exact same process to uncomment. So you select the section that you have commented, and then control / to undo that comment. That is just literally the tip of the iceberg, though, when it comes to keyboard shortcuts. There's an entire Visual Studio cheat sheet. I should have actually come prepared with that, but what I'll do is I'll maybe post it up on the LMS or something. Some of the things you won't use, but there's some very, very handy shortcuts there that you can learn. There's probably 5 or 6 dozen table keyboard shortcuts, but really, if you just learn about 10 or so, it'll make a world of a difference, and you'll definitely see an improvement in your efficiency. Okay, guys, if you have any questions or other comments as well, please do let me know in the comments. Do check the chat also. William and Keenan have been posting some very useful information. So take notes of those as well. Also, when creating a new HTML page, just press Shift 1 and then tab. I actually didn't know that, so thank you for that, William. And what about the shortcut to create divs and IDs in classes, etc.? I'm not sure if VS Code has. I know the full Visual Studio package has, but then I think with VS Code, you'd need to install a plugin or two to do that, which I definitely again want to get into because those are some very, very handy features to have. Visual Studio Code, it has a lot of handy features, but it is a simplified IDE. There's Microsoft also makes a fully fledged IDE called Visual Studio, which is the premium version, and that has all of the features. But the trouble with Visual Studio is that it's way, way too overpowered if you're just doing, basic HTML and mobile apps. If you're working with, teams of people, enterprise level applications, yeah, Visual Studio Code is, the full Visual Studio is the way to go. But with smaller scale projects and solo developers, VS Code with a few plugins is more than you will ever need. Okay, we are almost out of time as well. There's just a few announcements I want to get to before we close up for today. First, I know a lot of you were excited for the App Academy, and it's still happening, but it's been postponed again. This time it's been postponed to early next year, around March. Applications will open up around the end of January next year. I will forward you guys the invite for that as soon as it goes live. But with that being said, there is still an event happening now. Applications actually open tomorrow, I believe, which is the App of the Year Awards. The App of the Year Awards is basically, you can think about it as the Grammys, but for local South African developers. Um, they have about 10 categories ranging from, finance to agriculture to education to even gaming. And the idea is for South African developers who have developed apps in those categories or are currently developing apps in those categories to wrap up what they work and submit their app to the competition. Judges will go through it. You submit it to one of those specific categories, and you stand a chance to win. I think that it's a great opportunity. Even if you don't win, I think just participating in this is fantastic. So I encourage each and every one of you to make an attempt. Try to put together an app for one of those categories. You can get the full breakdown of all of the categories from the website. I know they're still currently updating the website. Not all of the information is there, but it will be added over the coming days. But yeah, check out the categories for now. And I think, go for it. Aim high, uh, pick a category, develop an app for it, and submit it. Daniel, I did see your email, and I actually planned to go through the points in the webinar. I felt it would be better just to talk through it, but I see we're running out of time. But I saw your email, and I will respond to that later today. But yeah, definitely try and participate. A piece of advice I gave Daniel, William, yesterday on email is use one of the IT Varsity apps that you've developed as a template. That's the whole point of those apps. They're meant to be templates of the most common app types you'll see out there in the industry or that you would need to develop. So take one of those, repurpose it, make it your own, uh, repurpose it so that it fits one of those categories and submit it. And if you don't want to go at it alone, you don't have to, right? Partner up, coordinate over the Slack, pick a few people and work on a project together. Applications, I think, close end of October. So you have from now till then to put together your apps. But I absolutely 100% believe that you guys have what it takes to make the podiums, and I really do encourage you all to participate. Your apps will automatically also qualify for one of the categories, which is, I think, best up and coming developer, because you guys are students, you're studying, you haven't really, or most of you haven't worked as developers in the industry, so you will automatically qualify for that category as well. So take advantage of it. Can we submit mock apps? No, so you need to submit a completed app that's ready to basically go live. I know in your email you mentioned like you gave the example of the Pine City Mall app. And so, yeah, it would need to be an app for an actual mall. Well, I think that would just increase your chances. But you know what, actually, though, I think submitting a mock-up also will work. Um, I'll just double check the rules, but I'm sure actually that would be fine. Obviously, along with a roadmap to fully develop it and go live. But I did notice that a lot of the information was missing. So what I can answer, I will. You can reach out to me. What I cannot, I'll forward it through to the Creative Space Media team and see if they can fill in those blanks for us. But guys, yeah, I think we will leave it there for now. Once again, thank you all so much for joining. Um, I hope you enjoyed the session. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week, and I will see you again next week. Bye, everyone.